少年とか思ってんじゃねえのかお前。ぶっ殺すぞこの野郎。
何のことですかこの腹パンパンにしとく腹。押すぞ。いいな。
押すぞお前この腹。
それはダメです。
あ、いいのかよ押してよお前よ。
それはダメです。絶
押す
対ダメです。
Deux, trois, let's do it.
Truth or dare? What did you say?
Truth or dare?
Rolling down the street like a bird in the wind.
Remember, this sport is all mental. You must go in your mind to your epic place.
Slender Man. He preys on innocent youth.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Two Awesome Men. How y'all doing today? I probably can't get a response from y'all. That's a stupid question to ask. Anyways, this is a very sad day for us. It's a horrible day, and it's a day that I never thought would come, but here it is. Just a little bit ago, we did our top 15 movies of 2015, 2018.
You're a time traveler?
Yeah, is that we're in 2018? Well, we're not in 2018, but so we just did that. One of my goals today is to make this video a little bit shorter because that last video was very long. I actually got a complaint from someone I work with about how long that video was. So, anyways, here is our video over our worst movies of 2018. That right there, it's a sad day.
Movies like Robin Hood that we wanted to see, which I actually really wanted to see Robin Hood because I feel like it would be pretty high on our list, but we didn't get a chance to see it. Movies like that and a few other movies we didn't have a chance to see. So just if there's a movie that you really hated from last year that's not on this list, it's most likely that we didn't see it. And also, unlike our top movies of the year video, this video we're going to have just one list. In our best videos we each made our own list. This one we made compromises so that we could have one list so we could talk about these movies with each other.
Yeah, and let's get right into it with our brand new customized mugs right here with our Two Awesome Men logo right on it. If you want a cup of your own, just get a piece of paper and tape it right on there. You're good to go.
Our great merch.
Yes, and also before we get into our dishonorable mentions, I want to bring up the most disappointing movie of this year for me, which was Incredibles 2. I'm not going to get into it at all. I don't care to. I just thought it was the most disappointing movie of the year. Not a bad movie, just most disappointing most disappointing movie of the year. And let's get right into it with our dishonorable mentions.
The First Purge.
Winchester.
Insidious 4, The Last Key.
Number 15.
So starting off with number 15, we have Venom. This movie was just so awful. It's not like one of those movies where I'm just hating on it just to hate on it. The second time I saw it, it was just as bad as the first time I saw it. The first half of the movie, there's so many things that they rush through that they try to make you care for Eddie Brock, the Eddie Brock character, and like you don't really care for him like at all. Him and Michelle Williams' character have like zero chemistry. Like you don't feel anything between them.
Yeah.
They try to make their relationship, their breakup, like really sad and like impactful, but you don't feel it at all. A lot of people say it's like a fun movie, which I can kind of see, I guess.
Yeah.
But even then, the funness isn't really that much there. The only thing that I liked about this movie was the relationship between Eddie Brock and Venom.
Yeah.
And even that wasn't done like the best.
Yeah, and this movie really had one of the most generic villains.
Yeah.
This villain was horrible. This villain had nothing to him. He was just
An evil person.
His plan didn't really make a lot of sense. The whole movie didn't make a lot of sense overall. And the fight scenes at the end were terrible because you had like a black suit and a gray suit fighting at nighttime.
Right.
It was like a terrible thing. We could barely see what was going on. You could barely figure out who was who. Number 14. So for our number 14, we're going to be talking about Happy Time Murders. Now, I do want to say there was aspects to it that I did like. Overall, there were some story elements that could have been really cool if they were used correctly in a better movie. But this movie just was not funny. None of the jokes hit that I can really think of.
Yeah, like one of the main reasons why I want to see it was because the first trailer was actually like really funny. But most of the funny parts were in that trailer. and so and like most of the like all the other jokes didn't, like you said, didn't land at all. They just try to go for this dirty humor like the entire time, and it just got really annoying and just exhausting, kind of.
Yeah, and they kind of just felt like the dirty humor would be funny because it's by puppets. Number 13.
For number 13, we have The Predator. Now, this movie was one of the most surprising movies, at least for me, of this year. Because, okay, the story itself was completely awful. If we based it off the story alone, this would probably be like a lot higher on our list.
Yeah.
Because it's just so awful. But the comedy that they had in this was just pretty hilarious. It's pretty enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
And like, I can't really knock it that much for the comedy because it seemed like they were trying to go for it. But the comedy was just so stupid, and it's just like I can't tell if I loved it or if I hated it.
Yeah, during the movie, you're kind of just watching in awe. After a while, like I'm gonna say after like the first 15-20 minutes, you just realize you're like, okay, let's just like throw everything that I wanted it to be in this movie away. Just throw it out of my mind, just so I can enjoy this movie. Because after a while, if you do that and you just expect a comedy, you're gonna enjoy yourself. I will say it's a really bad second viewing movie. The first viewing, whenever it catches you by surprise, you will enjoy this movie because it's one of the stupidest movies of the year. But like I am telling you, I had such a fun time with this movie. The characters are extremely stupid.
Yeah, especially Thomas Jane's character is so ridiculous.
They just try to get like the prime example of a guy with Tourette's syndrome and make a joke character out of him. And I will say, this movie, again, not a good movie, but completely fun to watch. Number 12. Our number 12 is going to be Strangers Pray at Night. You just have a whole bunch of characters making extremely stupid decisions. Like I'm talking crazy stupid decisions throughout this entire movie to where it just gets frustrating. You don't really care if they die or not because you're like, okay, like they're idiots. They kind of... I mean, they don't really deserve it, I guess. They're not like bad people. They're idiots. Like, don't split off. Like, they split off so many times, and someone gets killed every time they split off. I'm like, okay, by now you should realize don't split off. I mean, like, their aunt and uncle, they find out they get killed, and, like, the father's like, well, let's go over there and see what's up, instead of actually, like, calling the police or leaving. Like, figure something out. This movie, to me, it wasn't boring, though, so I will give it that.
The main, like, bad guy... his car freaking explodes.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, he's a regular guy. He's a human, and his car explodes and everything. And one, it still works. Yeah. And two, he's still alive somehow. Yeah. He's, like, some superhuman, I guess. But there's just a lot of, like, crazy things and dumb decisions that are made in this movie.
Number 11.
Our number 11 is Slenderman. Now, this movie is kind of frustrating because of the kind of potential that you can see while watching this movie. It's not like a completely awful horror movie. I don't want to really bash it too much because you can see that some of the visuals that were in here and some of the setups for some of the creepy parts are actually pretty good. You can tell the director or whoever set up these creepy moments has talent. It's just that the story and the writing was just so awful, especially like the first 5 minutes of the movie, the conversations between the high school students is just so cringy.
And this movie is so self-serious, which I expected it to be. Like, I expected that completely. But if you're gonna have a movie like this, you do need to realize what you're making, and it gets to the point where it gets kind of boring at times because there's just at times there's not really a lot going on. And I do like the idea they don't show the Slenderman a lot, but there's not really a lot that actually happens at all.
And not to mention that this movie came out several years too late.
The one thing that was really stupid to me, which, I mean, there's a lot of things that are stupid to me, but one thing I want to bring up is at the end of the movie, she's trying to give herself to to Slenderman at the end, to save her sister or something like that. And she says something like, take me, or something like that. And Slenderman gets all big trying to take her, and she starts screaming and running away. I'm like, what do you want?
The characters are so confusing, because for one, you never really know who is the actual main character. For most of the movie, you think it's this one girl, but then, what's the girl's name? Joey King?
Yeah.
The actress's name? Joey King. She starts becoming the main character, and it kind of flip-flops between those two.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard who they're trying to focus on. And two, it gets really weird because it seems like these high school students don't have parents or families because they're always walking around in the middle of the night. One of the students gets like brainwashed by Slenderman like halfway through the movie, and she kind of like completely disappears from the movie. And like they even go to her house, and she's acting like really strange. She's just like standing there staring into the air.
Yeah.
And it's like, wouldn't her parents notice her? And like she's like in this state of mind.
Yeah.
Like why is she just like left there?
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you watch the trailers to this movie, there's actually a scene where like there's a girl in her classroom, and she like stabs herself in the eye.
Yeah, the girl I was just talking about.
Yeah, the girl you were just talking about. She like stabbed herself in the eye. But I guess they felt like it was too bloody, and they wanted a PG-13 rating, so they completely take that character out of the movie.
Yeah.
And she's just gone.
Yeah, and they never explain what happens to her at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Or Joey King's character.
Like anybody. They don't explain anything. Like the ending, the rules of Slenderman, they just completely change. They don't make a lot of sense, and they start getting confusing on what actually is going on.
And then it just seems like the creepy scenes that I talked about earlier that are actually pretty good, that there's not really anything like connecting them that much.
It's all spreading his word. You know?
Number 10. Alright, for number 10 we have Skyscraper. This movie I felt like was just a dumb movie. It was a complete ripoff of Die Hard. And I'll say this, they knew it. I believe they threw out like a whole bunch of actual like ads, pretty much playing off the idea that this is a Die Hard ripoff. And I'm just telling you, if you make a ripoff to something and you play off that, it's still not okay. Okay? It's not okay at all. If you know it's a ripoff, like just put it out in theaters and shut up. Don't try to make all these little things like, oh, it's a little joke now, because no, it's not a joke. It's just a complete ripoff. You're stealing an idea. And the whole movie itself is just crap, which is even better now because they made that whole joke and then throw out some crap movie like this whenever Dwayne Johnson's like just doing these ridiculous stuff. And he's just like a normal guy. I know he's a strong guy. He's a big dude. He can probably do a lot more than I can, obviously. But not to that extent.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
The villains of this movie are pretty terrible too. Because like, okay, you're ripping off the movie Die Hard. Die Hard had one of the best villains of all time in Hans Gruber. And then you have in this movie some of the worst villains of all time, because like they're barely in the movie, to be honest, in the first place. And then when they are, it's just they're so bland, and they don't really have anything to them that makes you want to see them more.
Yeah, and then like I said, obviously like Dwayne Johnson has like almost like superhuman powers. And he's not supposed to, and like he does not get hurt. Like he'll get like hurt and he'll like wrap some duct tape around him or something like that. And he's all good to go. But it's just such a stupid movie that kind of makes you just suspend your disbelief way too much. Way too much. That's almost like an insulting level. Number 9.
Our number 9 is Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom. The first one made a lot of money. I'm not gonna say it was like the greatest movie, but I actually really liked the first Jurassic World movie. And it kind of like revamped the Jurassic Park franchise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was obvious and inevitable that the sequel was going to come out. But to see what they came up with, it honestly felt like a filler movie, because just to get to the third movie, halfway through this movie, it goes from them trying to rescue the dinosaurs from the island that's exploding to just a mansion. And I don't know who decided to put a Jurassic Park movie in a mansion for half a movie, but that's one of the dumbest decisions ever made. And like the whole reason why they're in the mansion is even dumber than the decision for it to be in the mansion, because it's like some like cartoon villains having some kind of auction for dinosaurs.
There's this little girl that's like a clone of like someone's mom. And she like, at the end of the movie, she lets out the dinosaurs.
Yeah, like literally the only reason she was in the movie was for her to press the button at the end of the movie so that Chris Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard won't be the ones who doom the human race. That's the only reason why that clone girl was in the movie.
Yeah.
The only reason why she was a clone.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it like were riding and they got to the end, they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And they're like, oh, let's make a little girl clone.
They had these two young characters. One was like a scientist or something, and I forgot what the other dude was. but the other dude was just there to like scream all the time.
Yeah, he was annoying.
And but both those characters are pretty useless to be in the movie at all.
Yeah, and one stupid thing that I hated was that Chris Pratt's character felt like he did exactly in the first one. And I feel like after movies, you should have like a change in character. But I feel like Chris Pratt doesn't change at all throughout these entire movies. In this movie, I don't even really want to call it a movie because it just feels like filler. That's all it is. It feels like there was Jurassic World, and then the next one's going to be the second movie, and this is just something that happens in the middle, just to have a third movie. Number 8. For our number 8, we're going to go over Truth or Dare. This movie is one of the most hilarious movies I've seen this year. It was one of the dumbest movies I've seen. This movie was actually a good time to watch, I'm not going to lie, but it's because I was watching it with some friends, and we all went there practically to have a laugh. We all went there to watch a joke movie. Yeah. That's what this entire movie was.
Yeah, because like the concept alone is so freaking dumb. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, what can we make for a movie? Oh, Truth or Dare is a game that teenagers used to play back in the day, so why not just make a movie where people die while they play Truth or Dare? That's the state of movies that we're in now. It's just so lazy, kind of.
Yeah, this whole movie was completely lazy. I will say, thankfully, like I said, this movie is extremely enjoyable because of how funny it is. But most of the movie, a lot of the movie just doesn't make sense. Like, whenever it has that stupid trope that keeps happening in these kind of movies where, like, nobody believes anybody until people start dying. And it starts getting obvious to the point where, like in the movie, these people, like, their faces do this weird smile thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, nobody can actually do that in real life.
Grandma, what big teeth you have.
So if you see someone doing that, I would be a little suspicious that something's actually going on.
Right.
And at the end of this movie, they try to tie it back around with this stupid crap of like, I think she's at the very beginning of the movie. It's like Truth or Dare, and it was like, would you sacrifice the whole world for like one of your friends? And she says no. And at the end of the movie, she like makes everybody in the world play the game of Truth or Dare. Number 7.
Our number 7 is Unsane. Now, this movie was shot completely on an iPhone, which for on one side I can kind of commend it for that, for trying to do that, but on the other side it kind of proves the point on why movies shouldn't be shot on an iPhone, because it kind of took away from the atmosphere that a movie should have. Most of it just didn't really seem that real. It just seemed like actors in front of an iPhone, which is literally what it was. But movies shouldn't really feel like that. They should have you should have immersion in movies to where you're not focusing on the fact that it's not like actually real.
It felt like it was just trying to have a selling point with the iPhone. And what I hate is like a lot of reviews that I've seen talk good about this movie just keep bringing the iPhone up over and over again. And it's like, are you going to bring up anything else other than the iPhone? Because there's more to movies than how it's filmed. This movie, I felt like the acting was pretty bad, except for the main actress. I felt like she was pretty decent, but overall, everything else just felt so fake. And I know, like, it took place in an insane asylum, so I know what they're going for. I understand it's supposed to feel off. But movies, I've seen movies do it in a much better way.
They only had like 3 soundtracks for the whole movie that they played over and over, just in different times.
Yeah, and I felt like it was like really all of a sudden in there, you know, like out of nowhere. And I felt like some scenes I think there's actually one scene I actually felt it was decent, but then they threw this stupid music in there and it just felt so bad. Number 6. For our number 6, we are going to be talking about Hurricane Heist. From the title alone, you can tell how stupid this movie is going to be. It doesn't sound like it should be an actual movie. It doesn't sound like it should be in theaters, but you know what? It was. I don't remember it being in theaters, but it was. This movie, okay, one of the biggest things about disaster movies, which I hate disaster movies. I think they're stupid, and I think they're lazy. But the one thing about disaster movies you have, right, is people dying all over the place. It's the only thing they have for them. It's the only reason why they're made. Mm-hmm. But this movie just became boring. It was boring. A disaster movie is boring. Just think about that. A movie where like there's tornadoes everywhere, things are getting blown around, was boring.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons for that is because most of this movie takes place indoors, which I know it's a movie about a heist, obviously, by the title, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with their actual hurricane instead of just having it all indoors. I think there's only like one scene maybe 1 or 2 scenes of them actually showing like destruction.
Just have stupid scenes like that.
Right.
That's all you need in disaster movies. But no, they decided to have it where the whole city was evacuated, so there was no people anywhere.
Yeah, and on top of that, what made it even worse is that this movie took itself way too seriously.
Yeah.
Like a movie about a heist that's taking place during a hurricane shouldn't like try to take itself seriously. It should have some fun with it. Have fun with that concept. But no, this movie tried to be like an actual serious movie.
There's a part at the end and a part at the beginning where like there's a storm going on and they look in the sky and there's like a skull like just like growling at them in the sky. Number 5.
Our number 5 is The Nun. Now this movie was pretty highly disappointing considering the first 2 Conjuring movies, especially the second one, really built up the character of the nun. And then this is the piece of crap they pushed out for us because it's a prequel, but they don't really explain where the nun came from or what she is or why she disguises herself as a nun. They never explain any of that.
Yeah.
They have a little like 5-minute sequence or like 2 or 3 minute sequence where they kind of explain where she came from and why she's here, which is a pretty cool story. They should have started with that, to be honest. But they didn't. They have this, and it's just like another haunting of the nun without really explaining where she came from.
Yeah, and they don't really go into like explaining the connection between these 2 movies, except for maybe like a 5-second part of the movie. But one of the stupidest things that this movie did was the main actress of this movie is sisters with the girl who plays Lorraine Warren. She looks just like her.
Exactly.
She looks just like a younger version. So I thought, oh, this might be cool. They're gonna have because in the Conjuring movies, the nun is following Lorraine Warren. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, maybe the nun will come from this. This is why it's following her. This is why because it's the actress's sister, looks just like her. But no, they're not. They're not even related in this movie.
And not only do they look exactly like, which throughout the entire movie, as I was watching, I literally thought it was supposed to be that character from the Conjuring movies. But one, it's set in a time period that would make sense for her to be that age that the character was in this movie. They gave her the same kind of psychic powers that Lorraine had. Like, why did they do so much to make her character so much like Lorraine's? To not make her the same character. It would make the whole reason for this movie to be made make more sense.
The nun gave the people like an easy way out. Like there was a time when the guy was buried and she gave like a bell to like ring so that people can hear. I'm like, why give him a bell?
Yeah, she's like just pulling pranks on them, I guess.
Number 4. For number 4, we're gonna go over Gotti. This movie was so weird. It's a bad movie. It's a terrible movie, but it's so weird. It was cringy from beginning to end, but it was a weird cringe. Mm-hmm. Like I was watching, like it's a weird cringe. It's almost like a soothing cringe, you know, but like a negative type of soothing.
Yeah, it was a different kind of cringe,
like a negative soothing cringe.
Yeah, it was its own kind.
It was like its own. It's like it invented a new type of cringe.
It's kind of hard to pick out like small problems about this movie because it just feels like one big problem. It just wasn't good. It's a movie about the Gotti family. What's his name? John Gotti.
Yeah, John Gotti.
Who's like a mobster and like. I think the actual family like helped with the movie, so hopefully we don't like turn up missing for having this on our list.
This movie, I like it just doesn't feel like an actual movie at all, you know. And I keep throughout the entire movie we were watching, and I kept forgetting it was a movie that like came out in 2018. You know, I kept like thinking it was like a movie that came out in the 90s that comes on at 2 a.m. on Ion Television.
Oh yeah,
you know, and. It was just, it just didn't feel right. It just, I don't understand. This movie is a really weird movie to watch. Yeah. It was one of the weirdest movies I've seen.
Yeah, and also it was actually kind of boring. Like it's a story about John Gotti's life, but nothing exactly really happens that much.
And they have these weird like narrations where John Travolta's talking straight to the camera.
Oh yeah.
And also at the beginning of this movie, they have like a montage of like, the Gotti family and John Gotti, like the actual people, and which is something that should have been in the end instead of like at the beginning of the movie, you know. And one of the funniest things to me is that this movie, the soundtrack is written by Pitbull.
Oh yeah, like the entire soundtrack. Like there's like probably at least like 5 or 6 Pitbull songs throughout this movie, and it's just like doesn't fit at all with the tone of the movie.
Number 3.
Our number 3 is Show Dogs. I know it's a kids movie, and you know, a lot of kids movies you can kind of give excuses for like the humor to be kind of bad, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this bad. Ludacris plays the main dog's voice, and his voice acting was so cheesy and so awful,
horrible.
and it's just so like funny to watch,
Yeah.
but not in like a good way.
Yeah, and one thing that was ridiculous is we were watching this, and for some reason we had to press pause, and we're like, okay, we felt like this movie was like, because this movie's only like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, this movie's probably only has like 10 or 20 minutes left. We had to
Right.
press pause, and we were only 40 minutes in.
Yeah, we still had like over half the movie left, and it
Yeah.
honestly felt like it was like almost about to be the end of the movie. Like the actual part of the story that I was at felt like it was about to be the end of the movie, and it felt like we had already been watching it for a while. And also another strange thing about this movie was there's so many like really big tonal shifts in this movie. Like they would be like this dumb childish comedy, and then all of a sudden they try to get into like some heartfelt moment, and it's just like all of a sudden like in a snap of a finger, like it just like switched to a different kind of scene.
And one thing that was ridiculous to me is it felt like they tried to make Will Arnett like this idiot at the top. And like this dog was like a genius. They put Ludacris's character, the dog, into the show dog competition, you know, and they decided to not train him beforehand, but he just started doing like these amazing tricks that all these dogs have been training to do, which is like that doesn't make any sense. And then like it's a kids movie, whatever. I don't want to bring that up. That's like a stupid argument to me. But he was just doing all these tricks that you would need to train your dog for. It was like this dog wasn't like an actual dog. And then like after he had won all these competitions, then they decided to start training him.
Yeah. And we can't really bring up this movie without also bringing up the controversy that came along with this movie. Like when this movie came out to theaters, when it first came out to theaters, it was the original cut of the movie, and it had like 2 jokes to where it was just like, why is this in a kids movie? And they both had to do with in the actual show, the show part. The judges have to like test like, you know, the private parts of the dogs, and like Ludacris's character obviously doesn't like them doing that. And one of the other dogs says that he just needs to go to his happy place, and it's just like. It's so strange. It's what they're trying to insinuate.
You can actually see the parts on YouTube.
Yeah. If you look,
they're
up
also
on YouTube,
just really stupid.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, why even have this in a kids movie?
Number 2. Our number 2 is Holmes and Watson, which is a comedy, but it's one of the least funniest movies I've seen in a long time. It goes to a point where it gets really boring because of how like unfunny these jokes are.
And obviously it's supposed to be kind of like a parody of Sherlock Holmes, but they never really go full parody. So at the same time, they want to go with this comedy, but they completely go against who these characters are. Like Watson, they made him like some kind of like freaking idiot.
Yeah.
And when he's still a doctor in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's what's so dumb about it. He's a doctor in this movie, and they made him like completely stupid. And it's just like, if you're gonna make it a parody, just go full parody.
Yeah.
But this movie didn't really go that route.
Yeah, and even Sherlock Holmes himself, he does some smart things here and there, but overall he's an idiot too. But he does smart things. It's like you really got to make up your mind with him. Like I really feel like you can stick with the characters and still be funny. But this movie, it like sticks with the characters and then goes against the characters back and forth to make them smart and makes them stupid. And this movie. It does the same jokes quite a bit throughout the entire movie, and it's not like this movie's not funny at all. So it's even worse when they keep doing the same jokes. Number 1.
All right, so our number 1 is Super Troopers 2. Now, it was kind of hard to decide whether we wanted Holmes and Watson or this one to be number 1 because they're both pretty equally terrible. They're both comedies. But the reason why this, or at least in my mind, why this movie should be number 1 is because at least Holmes and Watson, at the very least, it had somewhat of a story on what they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
This one, I mean, there was a story in this one, but it was just like, it was barely anything. Comedies, their only job, well, one of their only jobs is to make you laugh. And like Holmes and Watson, this movie has some of the worst jokes I've ever seen. From the very beginning, the whole sequence in the beginning, was completely awful.
Yeah.
Like, it was completely pointless too, because there was a whole dream sequence
Yeah.
that didn't even really add anything to the movie,
Yeah.
like at all. Especially since none of the jokes in the sequence were funny.
Yeah. And also, like we said earlier, it has a story, but it's stupid. It's about, I believe there's like an area of land. It's Canada's land or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And Canada deciding to give that land to America, right? And so everybody in that land is now angry because they're moving from Canada to America and they hate Americans. And so they decide to hire the cops from Super Troopers, the first one. But in this film, they've already been fired because of like a bad ride-along.
Yeah, with Fred Savage.
Yeah, with Fred Savage.
Where he died.
Yeah, where Fred Savage dies. And it's like years after. And they decide, okay, since we're doing this and we need to get these Canadians okay with living in America, our best option is to get these cops that have been fired for accidentally having Fred Savage get killed on a ride-along, use them and reinstate them as cops in order to get the Canadians used to America. Why not just use actual cops? You know?
Because then this movie won't be able to be made.
Yeah, it's just completely bad. The story's stupid. The humor's stupid. The acting's not that great. I don't understand what was going on through their heads with this movie. I felt like all they had to do was not fire the cops. Maybe that make the story make a little more sense, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. I don't know.
And it's kind of like really Holmes and Watson. This movie are actually like really similar because like Holmes and Watson, this movie just had a lot of sequences that didn't really like flow together. It just felt like random scenes that they try to like throw in random jokes.
Yeah.
And it just didn't feel like a movie like that had a single story going through it.
Well, guys, there it is. Those are our worst movies, our 15 worst movies of 2018. Oh my goodness. And I just want to say this. 2018 was not the best year for movies. And it was weird was this year did have actually some really good movies, but not a lot of them. It had some horrible movies. My goodness, man.
Yeah, it's pretty varied last year, whereas 2017 had some pretty great movies.
Yeah, 2017 was a really good year. Yeah, so hopefully we won't go through this crap again. Okay, this is horrible.
Which I'm actually excited for a lot of movies that come out this year. Especially on the superhero side, there's a lot of exciting movies that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, so hopefully next year's list, well, this list is never good. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to, you can go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and also comment and let us know what you thought about these movies.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2AwesomeMen.
And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry for making you watch this video. I'm very sorry to even put these movies in your head. Okay? That's a big mistake on my part. Anyways, you will see us later. That was a weird way of saying that, but yeah.